Hello all, Scott Grove here again with some more country bass guitar for you. I had a lot of requests to do some more bass guitar stuff, so I'm going to stick with the country for today. It's just later than it was, and going to upload it probably tomorrow. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is teach those of you who are basically very simple, rudimentary 1-5-1 bass players, meaning that you're you're just beginning, and that's why you need lessons. Okay, so for those of you who get really bored of doing the root fifth thing, just like, you know who you are. Yeah, I know, I could have stopped that about half an hour ago. Anyway, of course I have plenty of different lessons to teach you how to get out of that, with all the walks and the other things, and everybody's got basically the same lessons available to get around that here on YouTube and on my lessons or anybody else's lessons that are going to teach you to play country bass guitar. Now what I'm going to show you now are the lessons that nobody will teach you, because nobody in their right mind would probably teach you this. But that's half the fun. This is bass guitar, simple bass stuff, but just outside the box. This is just to get you thinking a little bit, okay? So this is just for fun. It's for education, of course, too, but it's just something that you won't see everybody else doing. So you're not going to catch this stuff anywhere else probably, which may or may not be a good thing. So we're just going to have fun. I'm going to have fun. I don't care if you do it. No, I do care. But it's just insanity, and that's what it's here for. It's forcing you to be creative. So again, learn from my madness by dissecting it and playing it some other way. Okay, so let's get down to the bass of choice for this particular short segment. This will be the good ones, the old Gibson G3, the Grabber 3. The Grabber 1s back in the day, these are very thin basses, by the way. They're not nearly as thick and heavy as you would think. They're about half the thickness of a Les Paul or of a P bass even. They're just huge body is all. The original Grabber had that one sliding pickup that went back and forth. Nowadays they're doing a tribute, not a reissue, but a tribute to the Grabber 3, which is failing miserably because they didn't do it anything like it. They put a pickup here, one here, and they're all, it's just horrible. It's a disgrace. But they're calling it a tribute as opposed to a reissue, therefore it doesn't have to be anything like it other than the body style. Okay, so to get to what we're actually here for, to learn something goofy and out there, which is pretty much what I'm all about. Okay, the thing with the root fifth, meaning, okay, I'm going to stick the whole day here, this entire lesson. I'll get this other light over here, pardon me, while I uncreate some shadowing. Okay, people yelling at me about shadows. They want me to win a award for cinematography for some reason. Okay, so they're like, no, I just want to see. Okay, now hopefully you can see. This is just going to be in the key of C. As you can see, the fret markers are very light colored in contrast to the maple fingerboard. So just know that we're in C, so 3rd fret. Okay, normally your root fifth just means C, G. Along with the drummer. Okay, so very typical stuff that you're used to doing, and a lot of classic country bass players don't have to play much beyond that. A lot of them, if they did, it would I don't know, it would just eat up empty space that makes the song sound good. But every now and then, you know, because the song has to breathe a little bit in order to let other instruments play, but every now and then as a bass player, by golly, you want to get in there and do something just for fun. This is when nobody's looking, nobody's listening. You can have fun like this. And actually, some of this is actually usable. I wouldn't give you totally worthless lessons. Well, I would, but I wouldn't tell you that that's what I was doing. Okay, so this one is going to incorporate some different things using your right hand that you may or may not have ever thought of. And so let's just do it. Okay, what I'm going to do here, there's an old tune, yes, Pink Floyd's Money. Okay, I'm deriving this from this. I did this a long time ago just because that lick is nice and easy and cool. It's just the C, then, okay, that's all it's doing is going up to the high C, fruit drink. Okay, so 5th fret on your G. Okay, you actually just lay your finger across your ring finger across the 5th fret, across the D and G strings, and you're just doing it, okay, raking it across G string, D string, back to the 3rd fret on your A, back to your C. Now, we don't need the rest of it. If you want it, it's just G, B flat, C, now E flat, back to C. But it's that which I really want to concentrate on, but this time I want to use it with a thumb and 2 fingers. Okay, so not like a typical bass would be played. I want you to do this. Okay, this is actually a banjo roll, yes, stolen from guitar players such as myself also, and guitar players have weird ways of playing bass. So the last thing you generally want to do is let a guitar player grab the bass because they play it so pitifully. But this is kind of that, but something that actually makes sense instead of coming totally from a guitar player's point of view. This actually has meaning to it instead of like most guitar players want to be a lead bass player. Okay, so what we're going to accomplish here, which you're like, okay, get to it, is simply doing the old tick-tock thing, which is what bass was meant to be in the first place. The big old doghouse stand-up bass. Okay, so you used to bounce your hand off the, the strings. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, if you were a regular country bass player, you'd be like with a stand-up bass, right? But now that things are, God, what are they? 60 years later, almost 60 years later, since they created the Fender P bass. Yeah. Yeah, 60 years ago. Holy cow. Anyway, so, and that's all it was meant to do, just take the bass and turn it this way. So of course everybody was using flat wounds back then. There were no round wound bass strings. Nobody heard of such a thing. So there was no such thing as, that kind of sound didn't happen. So, what do? In this case, since I've got 3 pickups on this thing like a Strat, I'm just going to go to the most bassy sounding combination I have, which are these 2, and I'm going to roll off the bottom end by the tone knob, okay, just to get as accurate as I can, okay. Okay, I could go all the way, which creates too much mud. It's actually not bad. Things vibrating on the wall will be things vibrating on the wall because I'm just not taking them down. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up the tone knob just a little bit so you can hear the definition, and then you can do whatever you want with it. But all I want you to do is this. Okay, it actually is cooler than you think. Check it out in context. Okay, the fact that you can't really hear what's going on is cool. You're just accentuating the hi-hat. You're not looking to go. That's not the point. It is to just simply have something else to do with your hands and just accentuate, put some punch to the hi-hat. You can't imagine how cool this actually sounds until you put this sucker on a 20 and you can actually hear all this together. And I'm playing at a very low volume, of course. But to not only accentuate the root notes, the bass drum, boom, instead of being a tuba player, we're not trying to pop, okay? Now the way it actually comes out of your amp will be determined by you and what you do with it. The way to get rid of that kind of sound, again, roll off your tone more. Okay, by itself you're like, huh? But as you see with the music, now that I keep the tone down, got a cool little thing going on, and it's a little more fun than you're not going to go to sleep, and that's a good thing. Okay, so in order to do this, your simple roll of the right hand, no pun intended, saying the word roll because it is a banjo roll. Okay, it's thumb. Okay, so we're going to simply be doing your root fifth, C, G, C, G. You're going to be putting your pinky across at the 5th fret, or whatever, but 5th fret, and possibly, you know, your ring finger too, whatever you. Okay, make a big chord, big bar chord, but don't push down on anything other than your root notes. Okay, so you are doing percussive effects via the picking. Okay, so and again, I have my tone knob up a little bit so you can hear the percussive effects with your right hand. Here it is. So it's just thumb on your root, then while these are just shut up, you're doing G string middle finger, and then your D string with your first finger. Okay, so thumb. I generally don't like bass players who sit there with their thumb, except for thumping and popping, but those guys just sit there and go and play with their thumb like that. Not generally one of my favorite things, but if you do that, cool, as long as the notes come out. Nobody should question why you do it. The reason I don't like it, it just looks weird. No other reason. But at least this way you get to do that. So, okay, if I were to play it, just like the Pink Floyd tune, but just mute them, shut them up. Okay, so it's just thumb, click, click, then the fifth, click, click, thumb, root, fifth, click, click, root, click, click. Now it's going to be harder than you think, because you're already probably finding that out. It's hard not to play that chord. And if you do, no big deal if you happen to throw an extra note in there. It helps fill it up. You know, it just adds an extra note and everybody's like, hey, that was kind of cool. Cool break. Okay, but you do those so lightly that, like I said, it just accentuates the hi-hat and adds some beef to the hi-hat. So it actually adds more punch to the general mix when everything's in the sound system together. Okay, so that's what this creates. It's not so much of a thing for you to sit around and just do because it's something goofy that I came up with. It is actually something that works very well in a live mix. It just adds more percussion. You are a percussionist as well. You are tied in with the drummer. You guys have to be like married except for the sex part. So you don't only have to play the kick drum part. You can play the hi-hat parts too, or the brushes, because the brushes be doom decka boom decka doom decka doom. Okay, just like your normal stroke rolls. Like the horse gallop. Okay, so you could play your bass that way. So you don't even have to use this up here. You can do the whole thing here. The only cool thing about doing this up this way is the fact that if you do happen to hit a note, it's not going to be a note that's not in the C scale. Okay, so this way at least you have something in the way she moves that is in the actual C scale, so you're just root, fifth, root. Okay? But if you can get good enough without having to worry about doing this big mess and cramping yourself, you are only after the clicks, not after the notes. But if you want to add the notes in now and then. Brighten up your bass, turn the tone knob up. Or just for brighter clicks. So you can hear how much more percussive the clicks are. Open it up wide open, put everything back in a normal position. That sounds really cool too. Slow it way down. can get a little playful in here. Okay, so just sit there and get playful with it. Okay, the other thing, just for fun, as all these are, none of these are extremely serious things. These are just things to get your little brain going. Tom Peterson. If you don't know him, look him up. He was, always has been, the bass player for the band Cheap Trick. You know, which big 70s, 80s. And they're still going. They're out there rocking and rolling still in their 60s. And anyway, Tom Peterson has always played 12-string basses. Okay, these are like nothing more than a 8-string basses, which you've seen many times, which are simply doubled up as a 4-string bass would be, compared to a 12-string guitar, where you have on a 12-string guitar, you know, the high E and B notes are just doubles of each other. But when you get to the 4 strings like you have on a bass, the actual 8-string basses had an octave higher E setting right next to this one, an octave higher A setting right next to this one, and so forth. So everything had an octave higher to it. Okay, so when you played an 8-string bass, which there are tons of still to this day, they've never stopped making them, and now they're more popular than ever. If you just played a C, it would actually sound like this. So if you were to do, you know, root 5th, and that's what this is going to be about. But with Tom Peterson, with his 12-string basses, there was even another octave than that. So if you played a C, you would have C and let me get them all there. You'd have them all there. So okay, so all 3 at the same time. So I can't reach them all. Okay, so he still plays those on every single song all night long, and has been for 30 some years. Okay, so 12-string basses, they make them, and they make 16-string basses even, which are still paired together as a 4-string instrument, but just via octaves, not going into weird territories. 5-string basses, of course, are totally acceptable. 6 strings are everywhere. 7 strings are coming into favor. 8 strings that are just simply really wide necks, and so forth. Anything that strings are not doubled up on, they're getting more popular. And guitar players are going to 9-string guitars that have bass strings on them up this way. Okay, no higher strings, just lower strings, so they're taking over the bass player's thing, basically playing the metal stuff. So anyway, we're all running into each other. Okay, so you got your 7-string bass players, and then you have your 9-string guitar players, and we all have the same notes on our instruments. Okay, anyway, so I just wanted to point out to you that it is kind of cool, and this here, I do it via the crab thing, just thumb and middle finger. Okay, but it actually sounds very cool when it's in context with a lot of music going on. It just adds some definition and gets rid of a lot of that rumble that's associated with most bass players that do not have a nice crisp tone like I do. You can sit there and do that all day long and it would sound great. But sometimes you really need that old-fashioned bass sound, and where you just stop it. Even more bassy. No ringing at all, no tone at all. But that is required sometimes. It's all for the betterment of the song. Okay? Which I'm sure you know. But here is the bass with the octaves. Okay? So just to let you know, don't forget that that option is available just to do every now and then. Why? Simply because you can. Okay? Concentrate on hitting your root harder so that you're not hearing this. If you're listening to this through a laptop speaker, the only thing you're hearing is the high note. You better put on some really good headphone, the can type. If you're a bass player, you're listening to this stuff through the right thing and not just through a little tiny nickel-sized speaker. So make sure your root note is the dominant. Of course, you can play it this way, but if you do it that way like a normal guy would, it gets weird like that. You got to be careful not to rip it up. But if you do it like the crab, you can control more volume with your thumb, with the root, and just not put much pressure on your middle finger, whichever finger you decide to do the octave on. So it just rounds out your tone. It's kind of cool, and just don't forget to use it. Okay, so that's just another thing. One last thing I just kind of want to toss in here, just for, again, fun. And this is to just get over all of these, or just to get around the boring root fifth thing that all typical country players of playing old style country just simply get bored of doing. So it just gives you something more to do, okay, and gets you out of the mind numbing. Sure, it's your job, but sometimes you need a little variety in life, and let's go get some. Okay, the other thing being, think about changing different positions and using different voicings and chords and so forth. Not so much that it interferes with the song, but enough that it could make it interesting in certain places. Not throughout the whole song, just where it could be interesting. Okay? If it just gets down to a part where it's just mainly where the lead guitar player finally shuts up, if he ever shuts up, and it's just kick drum and like you get Good-Hearted Woman, you just sometimes it's very necessary that you just maintain that. But something like that where maybe it's just you and an acoustic player and that kick drum, and the guy's just talking and you just need to vamp a little bit because nobody else is playing, then it's a good time for this kind of experimenting. Okay, I'm taking you all the way up to the C, which is up to the 8th fret of the low E. Okay, so now I'm going to do that octave thing, and I'm going to do the crab thing and all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do 8 and 10. So 8 on the E, 10 on the D. Okay, so you got a root and a root. Now we're going to go to the 5th, right? So the G. Now we're going to keep this up, but we're going to add other notes with it. So we're doing root and root, okay, by the crab thing here. So we have this. Now we do the G. Okay, this is kind of cool. We have the 5th, or the G, and now we're going to add in the 3rd. Okay, so here's your C, 1, 2, 3. So taking it, this song is in a major key, as most every country song in the world would be. So you're doing root and root. Now you're doing the 5th, which is your G note, which is the 10th fret on the A string. I just love to ring my lap steel there on the wall. And adding in the 3rd, okay, which is just an E note. It's just C, G, and E make up a C chord. So you got the G and the E this time. You're leaving out the root, the C. So you got root and root. Now your G and your E. Okay. That could be kind of cool in itself. But don't stop there. Just think of other things. I will think of another one for you. Okay? But there are cool things that you can just slide in. I'm not going to do them all for you. I'm going to get you started. Okay? But it's just kind of fun to do these. So root and root. Now your fifth and your third. So again, sorry for the rattle. Okay? And then you got to go back to a root again, which could be here, root, C, and I'm doing my root in my fifth. So C, and then a G by putting my pinky on the 12th fret of the G string, of course. So I'm going. Okay, so you could actually go root and root, fifth and third, now root and fifth, and then back to fifth and third. So okay, so that way you're doing root, root fifth, root fifth, root fifth, root fifth. Okay, of course, always do that too when you're playing. Instead of just getting the boring old thing. Okay, so you've got those other places to go. Use them. Okay, especially in a situation like I'm talking about. Don't do it too much because then it's too much. Just now and then throw in some flavor. It's just like putting in a pinch of pepper somewhere. Okay, so you're getting bored, you're just boom, boom. Okay. Then you're back to, now you can change it. Just enough, okay? It's not out of line at all. Again, in context, which you really don't need, but see, it's just be subtle. You don't have to go overboard. I'm showing you where I was going overboard, but if you're being real nice and subtle. Sorry. And you can go all over the place and add. Okay, that is just cool. Okay, so I'm doing here, then the G with the third, then you can actually go up to the root again. As weird as it is, but if you play it light enough, that's just a suspended second. Just use your theory. You can do that too. Okay, think of ways to get into things. Okay. That almost sounds like Fat Albert. That's not even a bad thing to do every now and then. Just to be goofy, just go one fret behind it, sneak into it. Instead of here, just go. fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth. So change that up, like I showed you before. Root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, third, root. Okay, you can even go. That's just root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, root, fifth, root, fifth, root, third, root, fifth, root, root, root. Okay, so there's no set thing. You can do whatever you want to do. Of course, I'm just trying to show you ways to explore different avenues to get beyond being bored like that. Okay, and always think of things also in the form of a big bar chord, if you're familiar with such a thing, which is just the chord of these things. So you have the root, the fifth, and then pinky, another root, then you add your middle finger right here to the 7th fret of the G string. So you have a bar chord, if you're not familiar with bar chords. Okay. Okay, so you can play all those notes, and then you have the ability, think of it this way, this is again for people who are beginners and need some help. Okay, this is not a duh moment for most people, I hope. So all those notes are safe. It's just root, fifth, root, third, root, fifth, root, third. You don't have to play this, but just know that the notes are there. Familiarize yourself with the shape. So you know that all the notes there are safe, so you can go. Okay, what I do there, it's just simply that from this shape, everything on your G string can go. Okay, so you have it on the 9th fret on the G string. It can go 9, then right along with the rest of these guys to the 10, and then up another whole step to the 12. So no matter what, whenever you're looking at this shape, you don't have to play it. Just know how to play this. If you're not familiar with bar chords, B-A-R-R-E is how they're spelled. Okay, B-A-R-R-E. Okay. Again, I don't expect you ever to hold this chord in front of somebody, but just familiarize yourself with those notes. Again, it's just root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root. You've been playing it the whole time. But then I don't know if many of you have been adding that third. It's very weird to hear a bass player play a third. Okay, but you have a root, third, then if you go up one more fret, fourth, and then a fifth again. Back to your G, root, fifth, you're just way up there. So root, fifth, root, third, fourth, fifth. So you can always do that. Okay. Root, fifth, root, fifth, root, fifth, root. That's just going root, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is just the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, all that stuff. Okay, so you can play that in your licks. Okay, so like you're going. Okay. Okay, so to show you a tasteful way of playing this. Okay. how this can actually work. So I hope that helps out again. Everything from the beginning. But again, roll off that tone and staccato this thing. Staccato means hit the note that you're actually playing and get out of there. Make it sound like a stand-up bass with 3,000-year-old flat, wound, dead strings, just like a wash tub bass. We like to call it the fart bass, as it was. Sounds like a tuba. That's what it was meant to emulate. Even shorter. But it's got that. And you'll be surprised how just kind of cool that sounds mixed into the main PA when you have the hi-hat and the snare and the bass drum and the bass and the whole band coming through the sound system like it should be. PA means public address system. You're just talking through it. A sound system is when you put the whole band through it like it is supposed to be. A sound system is for the entire band to play through. It is not just for vocals. You never go to a concert and everybody has their amp wide open in a, at the Super Bowl or in Market Square Arena, or the what was the big arena in New York, Madison Square Garden. Everything is blasting through mountains of PA cabinets. So that's the way it's done, kiddies. You don't just play through your little amps and hope everybody hears you and the singer sings through something else. That's just not the way it's done. It might have been 800 years ago, but again, you can just do this. Take a good look. But it does add a lot. Your drummer will freak out and not get mad at you if you play in time, because to add some bottom end to that hi-hat sounds huge. It's just a whole different dimension. It's nothing to get in trouble with the drummer if you play it right. If you play it slightly off, yeah, he's going to be mad at you, but get it right. It's what metronomes and drum machines are for. Work on it. That's what practice is for too. And like I said, if you want to add these notes, add them. Okay, so you can mess with it as much as you want, but be on it. Okay, so use your imagination. And the other thing, just doing the octaves. Okay, you can do fifths. So do the C and the G together. Okay, generally if you're going to go C and G, do them there. Don't do the lower octave. Anything lower mixed in with it, it's just going to be a mess. So go. Okay, and then when you go to the G, you actually have, okay, let's show you this one real quick. C is your root, and of course your fifth, G. And unless you're doing octaves, then you can go there. But if you're going to do root and fifth at the same time, so root and fifth, make that fifth very quiet. And then root is up there and your fifth is right below it, so you play them together. So it's okay, otherwise adds some clarity, and it's kind of cool just now and then, like anything with bass guitar. Unless you're playing in a band where you're doing stuff like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and you're going to be Flea and doing your no need for that in a lot of things that you're going to be doing if you're just a straightforward country guy. And again, up here just for fun, to learn your shapes of the bar chord, but play them. Okay, so that's all I'm going to show you today. It's nothing but horseplay. Who wants to play with a horse? My wife does every night, let me tell you. I'm a stallion. Okay, so once again, Scott Grove with nothing but total nonsense, as usual. But that's just fun, okay? And that's what it's meant to be. Not a serious bass lesson, but there are some serious things there that you need to learn. And by toying around with them in the fashion that I showed you, you will find things that you can actually use. Okay, a lot of that is just fun that you can use here and there, but the main deal was to actually teach you something vicariously that meant through me. If you don't have to look it up. Why am I using vicariously 5-syllable words at this time of day? Why am I, or night? I should not be attempting such things. Do not attempt that word at home. So that means you're learning things through me, experiencing them through my madness. But learn that stuff so you can tone it down. Just go overboard and then use it. Just sprinkle it in once or twice a set, or here, just whenever. Just use your imagination, but get out of tuba mode all the time. I'm going to my regular good tone. That has to be there for a lot of things. Okay, then you got the guitar side of me who wants to play that stuff. But you can't be sitting there doing that all night long unless you're just in a 3-piece power trio. Otherwise, you know your job. You have to be the anchor. You have to be married to that bass drum. But I'm trying to show you how to have a little extra fun, how to have a little extra voicing going on, which is nice. But when to do it is up to you, and I leave it in your hands that you can play with this new gadget safely. It's like getting your first BB gun. Now, do not shoot your sister's eye out. Okay? So this is for the beginners again, or the people who have just been playing simple root fifth stuff for your whole life. Just odd little tips, tricks, and just utter nonsense to toy around with, to consider, or to throw away. It doesn't matter. But learn it and experiment around with it. There's a lot that you'll come up with once you start working on some of these things I showed you. And if you never use them, fine, but to have them in your bag of tricks is cool. Like I said, especially when it's just you, the bass drum, little hi-hat going boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom, like the Good-Hearted Woman. Boom, just bass drum and that, Okay? Just the octaves. Just for a second. It's cool. It's just a little bit of flavor so you don't get pigeonholed into being the guy who sounds like the tuba and look like the least talented guy up there. This is doing nothing huge. It's just something different. Okay? Just let them know that you're more than just one-dimensional, and you could do the whole night on 2 strings. So why should you even buy a 5 or a 6 string bass when all you ever use is 2 strings? So let's start using a few more, instead of then. So let's get you playing beyond the E and the A string, alright? So once again, Scott Grove, hope you bass players out there are enjoying the fact that I'm going to toss some more bass stuff out. Yes, it will be less basic. Yes, pun intended on the basic. We will get to much more advanced stuff and other styles and so forth. There are other styles right here in the free lessons. Again, if you are on YouTube, click the link right below here to go where it says to go check out my free lessons. Again, for a lot of people, my website, the people who host it, is not Internet Explorer friendly. It will not work with Google Chrome. It is a Firefox site pretty much only. Does that suck? Yeah, it sucks. But something screwed up about half a year ago with the web hosting people, and it's never been fixed since. So it sucks. So use your Firefox browser and everything will load up just like that until these morons get it fixed. Yes, I have to keep paying them, but such is life. Mi vida loca. Okay, so I'm out of here and we'll be back with some more bass stuff. So just click below, get the free stuff, scroll down to where the bass lessons are. There's only a few, but it will be getting, the library will get fuller because I'm going to concentrate on a lot of bass stuff via request. So let's do it, okay? And quit doing root fifth your whole life. There's more to life than, you know, just say no to tubas. Leave that to the mariachi bands or the oompa bands. Okay, so even Oktoberfest. So know that you can play more than 2 strings. Okay, there's at least 4 on there. Tune the other 2 up and let's start using them. Okay, take care. Bye.